we need to talk about Blazor.
We do. Blazor is my favorite part of .NET right now. It is so interesting. As a web developer, it's a way for me to build applications that make use of reusable components in a way that just it fits the way my brain thinks, and I really enjoy building with it. I want to show you just a couple of the new things that are coming with Blazor as part of .NET 6, and hopefully get you pointed in the right direction here so you can do a heck of a lot more with it. So, of course, I've started a new project here. I called it AOT, and I'll show you more about AOT ahead of time in a second here. But we now have for how our Blazor WebAssembly projects. So Blazor is this component-driven web application framework that you can use to build applications that run on a server, just like ASP.NET Core renders out there and delivers HTML. Or you can compile and run it in the browser using WebAssembly. That's an HTML5 standard technology that's available to you. But in this project that is WebAssembly, our program file, it gets mashed up with what was a startup file to make it really simple to get started with just 11 lines of code here that it's generated for you to define how we're going to configure and run this WebAssembly application. So once again, same theme, simplifying the amount of code that you need to write. And we've added some new features to make it easier for you to interact with some other things that as a web developer, you should have access to. Particularly, let me go over here and show you in our index page, you'll see we have this element here that we can now use called page title. And we can change the title for our pages by including this tag and defining the new title of our applications. So Blazor gives you that single page application experience, but when I'm building components and pages, I don't necessarily have access to the head area to be able to change out the title. I also don't have access to be able to add other CSS style sheets or script or meta tags that I might want. So we also now have the head content tag that allows you to add extra content you may want to put in the header of your application. So really good stuff that helps you update and show that extra information you may want. Now, we've added the ability to use error boundaries. I'm going to come back to that index page in a minute. So I added an error boundary. This is a way for you to put some tags inside of a component. So you can say only let errors happen within this block, and we'll do something appropriate if it doesn't work properly for me. So let me jump over to this and let me show you what happens when we have this error boundary on this block of code for my counter. Now, when it runs the way that it's supposed to run, let me get this open real quick. It should return, and I'll zoom back out, it should return just a counter count here. But if I create an error in here, and Frank, I'm going to divide my count by 0.
No, it's always a good idea.
Always. It's the bestest of ideas. Let me .NET watch this so we can see this run a little bit faster here. I'm keeping an eye on the clock. And I'll jump back over here, refresh that page, and now it has an error in it. And when I jump into it, I get by default this red block, and it's only where that page was being rendered, only where we specified the boundary that an error has occurred. Fantastic. It's not all over the entire page. It's not interrupting my flow, but it's right there. You can customize how the error is reported on the user interface. There's, of course, the ability to customize this. I'm just going to jump in here and uncomment this extra code that I have, move that into this child content element so you can see it. I'll tab it back there. So the child content, this is the code that we want to execute, and we want to show if there are no errors. And I've got a little block of markup here. If there is an error, show this instead. I'll just output, oops, hey, that didn't work. So I'll let this refresh after it rebuilds here, and I get just oops. It doesn't affect the rest of my page. It's nice and simple, and I can handle when that that error occurs. So think about it. If you're trying to go access a microservice, or you're trying to go get some data from the website that you're hosting on, and something happens and you get a 404, you're disconnected from the network, right? Or the data comes back and it's in the wrong format for some reason. You need to handle that, but you don't want to show an error on the screen. You've got better error handling here that'll allow you to write more content that's markup driven to render and output on the screen. So a much better experience for how you interact with these.
Yeah, definitely better. And like you say, like your flow is not interrupt. And with all the APIs and stuff, the connectivity today, it's not if, it's when you will be disconnected or like having some.
Yeah,
so that's cool.
Now, the last thing that I want to show here is one of the cool new Blazor features is the ability for you to get parameters from the query string. So let me jump back over to the index page and we'll close this up real quick. So, right, I have a name entry down here. So I have it just checking and saying, well, if name is a value, I'll put that name, otherwise world here. And of course, I can capture that as a parameter. We've known how to do this since Blazor 1.0 by marking this as parameter, and I can kind of capture by adding this extra bit here, and I'm going to actually make that nullable. Now, by doing that, it'll capture any name that's specified after that and drop it into this location for me. So let's go back over and, right, you see it comes up and says hello world, but of course I can change this to /Frank and it'll reload. Now it says hello Frank, but that's part of the route. It's another folder in the structure. Some folks want to be able to do this by providing a query string. So we can do that now. We can specify this is a parameter, and we can specify that we're going to supply that parameter from query, and that query string is called, right, we can say name equals name. Okay, we'll save that and it's going to restart. There it goes. And we'll see there's nothing at /Frank. If I go back and we let it open, it says hello world, but I can say now name equals Fritz. It'll navigate and now I get hello Fritz. So different ways to pass information into your Blazor application, different ways for you to interact with your components, provide ways that are more natural to your application instead of being forced into routing, some C# error handling. It keeps you in the flow of whatever type of application you're building.